composers of the 20th and 21st centuries. His name is Koji Kondo, and he is the mastermind behind the past 30 years of Nintendo music. And in my presentation today, I'm just going to talk a little bit about his early career, the 8-bit era with the NES, the franchises that put him on the map, Mario and Zelda, and then just the future of video game technology, especially as it pertains to music. So just to start out with, he was born in Nagoya, Japan in 1960. He had no formal musical training. He played the piano casually, but even when he went to university, he didn't study music, he studied art. He was a casual gamer. This was like the arcade era of gaming, so he would have been playing like Pac-Man and Punch-Out, and Frogger and arcade games like that. But Nintendo was recruiting at his university in 1984. He responded to the recruitment letter and was hired without an interview. And he was actually the first person ever to be hired specifically to write music for video games. The first video game soundtrack that he wrote was Duck Hunt for the NES. And it was a really big deal that he was hired. Because before, when they had needed music for a video game, they just would get one of the programmers who had a background in music to write the music. But he was the first person brought on specifically to write video game soundtracks. Now the music that you were hearing a second ago.
The justice system has become another part of big
Oh
government
my
that
God. Was the first of, I don't know, the justice system thing is not part of my presentation. It's the soundtrack to the first, Wrecking Crew, which was an NES game. That's the NES right there. If any of you remember that, that was probably way before your time. Thank you, Doc. But the first appearance of Mario was actually not in Super Mario Brothers. It was in this game, Wrecking Crew. I'm gonna wait for my next slide. I am PowerPoint. Okay, so then we have Super Mario, which was released in 1985. This theme that you're listening to, I guarantee you all know it. You have it as a ringtone on your phones. It has actually been on Billboard Magazine's top ringtones chart for 226 weeks. This song is a big deal. And out of all the songs in the game, you have the underground theme, the underwater theme, the battle theme. This main theme is what took Kondo the longest to write. Number one, because he was concerned that it not clash with the sound effects in the game. When you're working with 8-bit sound, the sound effects are going to have their own pitch, and he didn't want them to clash. He wanted the song to harmonize with the sound effects when you're jumping or shooting fireballs or jumping on top of Yoshi or whatever. And secondly, he just really wanted it to flow with the rhythm of the game. If you listen, the percussion is going and those are syncopated triplets, and they mimic the way that Mario moves when he runs. So it wasn't just background music, it was contributing to the holistic experience of the gameplay. Now this theme, please go home and do a YouTube search on it. There is some fantastic stuff out there on YouTube of people covering this song. It's been featured in several other Nintendo titles like Super Smash Brothers, Donkey Konga, DDR, anything where you play music, this theme is gonna be in there. And then a year later, The Legend of Zelda was released. Now the interesting thing about The Legend of Zelda is that it was one of the first games to have non-linear gameplay. Now what this means is that before this, you would have had games where you beat a level, you beat a boss, and so forth, and you beat the game. But The Legend of Zelda, you can pretty much go anywhere and do anything you wanted. You can solve the puzzles in any order you want, and it was more about having an experience than it was about beating a level and leveling up. And so the concept of this fantasy world that you inhabit while you're playing the game is called the overworld. And actually, this is pretty much the first occurrence of this idea in video games. And so Kondo composed this theme, the Zelda Overworld theme, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. Again, go on YouTube. It's one of my favorite songs by him. And then a few Zelda titles later in the franchise, the Ocarina of Time was released. This is widely considered to be the best video game ever made. And one of the reasons why this is that it had a very unique gameplay mechanic, where you get this magical ocarina and you have to play certain songs to solve some of the puzzles. So the music, instead of just being background music or just being something that contributes to your experience of the game, actually became a part of the game that you had to enter into. And this had never happened before. And the developers like this so much that they use music in several subsequent Zelda titles. If you've ever played like Wind Waker or the Minish Cap, you're going to have all the characters have musical instruments that they play. And what this did was it inspired the biggest trend in casual gaming right now, which is of course rhythm games. You play games like Guitar Hero and Rock Band and even Wii Music, which Kondo actually developed along with Shigeru Miyamoto. What we're listening to right now is one of the songs from Super Mario Galaxy, which is the first Mario game released for the Wii. And it really just makes fantastic use of the Wii's sound technology. And then I just want to talk a little bit about the cultural impact of Kondo's work. People covering video game songs is like a YouTube genre. As you can see, you're going to find thousands and thousands of videos out there. And it's an instance where people have taken something that a composer has created and really made it their own. And I think that's very special, and it's something that not a lot of composers have happen with their work. And the interesting thing is that Koji Kondo is only 50 years old. He is at the height of his productivity, and there is no telling with the emerging video game technology where he's going to go after this. So I'm very excited. Thank you.
It's right around 6 minutes. That takes into account the hiccup with my computer.